וובינר שני לחודש פברואר 23. היום אנחנו נדבר על עסקה מדהימה בסאן אנטוניו בסביבת ריבית 4.25. נראה איך דבר כזה אפשרי. I will go back to English. Gerard is with us. Okay, he's going to introduce us the project and all the options that we have to invest in this type of a project. With us, we have Inbar. She's a local realtor in San Antonio, and she's going to join him, and she's going to be part of this webinar. And Gerard, we are all excited to hear what you got to say about this type of a project. So the stage is yours.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And it's a pleasure to meet you, Michael. And Bar and I have been working really hard to help educate people about the market in Texas and specifically San Antonio and Austin together. There are many opportunities here because we are in an area where we have two major cities coming together for a major metro, and they're combining. And the exciting part is investing in this area right now will give you the opportunity to be there before the growth happens together, which is always a good thing for investors. So and please stop me if you need to take a little time. If you have any questions as we go along. First thing, just wanted to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, you got an option to share. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. You got an option to share. So if you want to share something, you can do it easily.
Perfect. Yes, I was just getting ready to share my screen, and I figured we'd start off talking a little bit about looking at a map and just kind of understanding why would you invest in this area. So, as I'm pulling up the map right now, we can take a look at it. Let me know when you can see this on your screen.
Not yet.
It's going to take a minute.
Yes, it should be.
Yeah, now we can see that.
Now we can see.
Perfect. Okay. So the two areas we're talking about, Inbar and I are based here in San Antonio, but we do business all the way up to Austin, Texas, and in a lot of these areas around. So this is an important area because between 2050 and right now, south side of San Antonio, all the way to the north side of Austin and down this area is expected to grow 4.5 million people, which should double the amount of people that we have right now. So there's a lot of growth because it's still very cost effective to get into this market. And there's a lot of growth potential. So with that being said, the saturation, we're already starting to see saturation happen in this market. We're seeing a lot of saturation along this I-35 corridor. Austin itself is already saturated. Austin's very well known for its tech industry. And San Antonio is known for its military and known as being a smaller city. But the difference is right now is it's about double to purchase a house in Austin, Texas versus San Antonio, Texas. But San Antonio is bigger. And so a lot of people are taking interest in this I-35. This is Highway I-35, this corridor that connects the two cities. And there's a few other pockets as well. There's a pocket over here on the west side of San Antonio. As we zoom in there, you can see all the density that's happening all in this pocket right here and the growth. And so those are a couple areas we're going to talk about today. But really understanding that as these two cities come together, the importance of the I-35 corridor connecting the two cities is really important. And there's a lot of focus because you're going to have companies that want to build in this area right here, kind of in the center or anywhere along this corridor to be able to get talent from San Antonio and Austin. So we've seen quite a bit of an increase there. If we talk a little bit about some of the communities that we have, just south of Austin right now, we have a community right here in Buda. It's actually more of this section. And this right here, as I zoom in, this is Austin's International Airport. So from this area and getting on the highways coming right here, it's about a 15-minute drive. And a lot of the growth from Austin is coming south and it's going north. This has been a great area because cost effectively, where you're buying a duplex, a new construction duplex here for between the high $500,000 range to the low mid $600,000 range, you would be purchasing that in Austin proper for, closer to $800,000-900,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's really nice because the growth is coming south, and with a long-term hold, there's a great possibility that you're going to start seeing some of that those higher appreciations dip into the south level right here. And so that's why we've taken interest in this area. Another thing to mention about this area is there's a lot of large real estate buyers coming in and building their own communities and leasing out the properties themselves. So having the opportunity for individual buyers to come in and buy some of these duplexes in this area is really a nice and a unique opportunity. You might be able to find some older duplexes in Austin proper area, but for the new construction, which we all really appreciate, because at that point you're not, you don't have to think about the maintenance as much. It comes with a warranty. There's some things that are really positive about it, and the new construction builders are giving incentives right now. And in this market, you've got a pretty heavily, it's still a buyer's market. So the new construction with all of the incentives makes a lot of sense for the investors, especially on the long-term holds. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this almost central area right here. It's a little south central, but New Braunfels is a city with high density. As you can see right here, there's a lot going on in this area. I worked out here for many years, and the infrastructure is still catching up with how many people are moving here. And there's a lot of reasons to be here, but of course, its central location, Austin, San Antonio, is probably the most important. But in this area, New Braunfels has grown quite a bit. The real estate and has been booming in this area, but it's so busy and the traffic gets so heavy, which is pretty typical in some of the saturated areas. You also we're having a little bit of a boom just southeast over here in a little town. This is pronounced Seguin. So anything coming down this way has been very popular. And we do have some properties. We sold out an entire community of duplexes in Seguin that are no longer available. And Inbar, later on, if you have any questions about some single families, there's some great single families, new construction single families that we can talk about over here in Seguin as well. But the duplexes, as you come down, this is a small highway 46. It connects New Braunfels and Seguin. It's a great area. We do have some duplexes in this area right here, kind of close to the McQueenie area. And we can show some examples of those as well. There actually, as a matter of fact, the inventory is being built right now. So that's something that's coming probably in the next 2 to 3 months. So we can explore that a little bit further. But this is a great area and a popular area for the central part of the I-35 corridor. So now we can focus on San Antonio. And what you see here in San Antonio, as mentioned, is we're actually considered military city is what they call us. You got a Randolph Air Force Base right here, and you've got Lackland Air Force Base right here. So on both sides of San Antonio, and then on the south end of San Antonio, you have a lot of military hospitals, companies, organizations. It's known as the city base area. There's a lot of growth that they're expecting to really start kicking off in the next 5 years there. But one of the hottest spots right now that's outside central San Antonio and the I-35 corridor, as we mentioned, you can almost see everything around here. It's almost the pattern that I could carve out for you and show you. This area right here to the west of San Antonio has been very popular. I'll show you something. I'm sure everybody's familiar with a website called Open Door. Open Door is a very popular website here in town. Across the world. But in the United States, they help people who want to sell their homes fast, give them an option to sell and get out. But one of the things that real estate professionals look for in Open Door is their research. And so in 2024, the most popular zip codes, this one right here in San Antonio, 78253. If I come back to my map, that's exactly what this zip code is right here.
Excuse me, Gerard, popular regarding investors or popular regarding migration? Popular how?
Well, popular as far as migration, so and growth in the area of, hey, things are moving this way, and I can kind of give you some of the features that are driving that. And for investors as well, right? Because if you have people wanting to move to that area,
Yeah,
of course, investing in that area,
makes
is going to
sense.
be popular. Yeah.
There was
So
also New Braunfels there. Underneath that, there was New Braunfels, most
correct,
popular zip code as well, the one we were talked about it a few minutes ago.
right, exactly. And so, as you're seeing these statistics and this research come through together in this area, what drove this zip code? There was it was a community called Alamo Ranch, and Alamo Ranch uh, over the last 15, 20 years just exploded into the west side of San Antonio. And you think about, well, why would that happen? Well, you've got an Air Force base right here. For investors, an Air Force base being close is a great thing because we find that our military are some of the best renters for a lot of reasons. They pay their rent on time, they take care of the homes, they do a very good job. But you might ask yourself, well, why wouldn't they just, rent houses right here near the Air Force base? Well, this is an area that really needs some regentrification. A lot of older homes there. Schools are a lot older. And so they might look and say, okay, well, I can come in this area right here, and yes, I can be pretty close to work. This Highway 90 is one of the least congested highways in all of San Antonio. So if I come out a little bit further to this area right here, I have all brand new schools. I have, and let me zoom in here a little bit. I can show you some of the things that are going on. So this is the area right here. Here are the duplexes right here. This is a Microsoft data center right here. So there's a lot of reason to be out here. There's a lot of restaurant, retail, entertainment right here in this section. This is one of the largest grocery chains in actually in the United States, but based here out of Texas. And this highway right here that I'm showing you is Highway 211. That just opened up. So here's Highway 90, the least congested highway that we have, and people jump on this brand new open highway connecting all of this area, and you can see all the construction that's happening. And this is how they get there. And as you see, this is all new construction here, but coming down this road, down to this is our outer loop, one of our major loops in San Antonio. You still have some established areas right here, which are not too old. They were probably built for the most part in 1990s and 2000s, so still established, but it's just moving back out this way. So you see um, a lot of growth in the area and a lot of people wanting to be out here. And just to zoom in even more, this community of duplexes right here, it's just going to be a large L building on both sides of the street. Very early on, they've built all the way down to about here on the first phase, but right across the street is a brand new elementary school and very highly rated, and then a brand new middle school. Both of these are already functional, and then the high school right here should be built by the end of the year this year. So you're going to have all brand new schools right here, and you have a crosswalk agent that if the kids are walking to the edge of the neighborhood, they walk them across the street, get them to school, get them back home. So this is a very popular area. And if we zoom out a little bit more to this section right here, we have some quadplexes out here. So some fourplex units that are out, and it's been very successful in this area. These are some of the few quadplexes that actually have amenities, so they can come to this section right here. They have pickleball courts, they have a basketball court, a dog park, they have a covered pavilion, and then they have a playground right here for the kids. If you come a little further up this main road right here, we'll find the swimming pool right here. So quite a few amenities that feed into those quadplexes that the duplexes may not have, but the duplexes, the main draw is you've got the schools right across the street. So there's some great things in this area that have done really well, that are performing well nationally. And, we can see the established growth in this area that's just pushing outward. And as you can see, San Antonio's got a lot of room to grow. This is, considered a rural area out here, but we're growing into it. We're moving out into other areas. When I go from this west side of San Antonio to the downtown area, I can actually get there in about 25 minutes. Again, this Highway 90 right here that feeds through here gives me quick access to the outer loop, which is 1604, the inner loop, which is 410, the Air Force Base, and then downtown. So those are some great areas. And again, we're talking about areas right now. We want to understand why would we invest in these areas, and it really has to do with the growth. It really has to do with the cost of living right now is very inexpensive. If you look in areas like New York and California in the United States, it's millions of dollars to purchase a property out there. And one other reason why people invest in Texas as a state is because we are very friendly to the investors when it comes to laws. In California, I'd say probably majority of my buyers right now come from California to Texas to invest in Texas, because if something goes wrong in California, we've had people that have had challenges of, let's say that somebody in your property doesn't want to leave or they can't pay rent. You know, we feel bad that that's happening, but we also have an investment that we have to protect. So if we need to have an eviction, which is very, very rare, but if something like that were to happen in California, I've seen people be able to stay in those homes a year to 2 years
Wow,
before
that's
before
crazy.
you know, right. And it's such a higher cost. You're holding a note and paying the bill every month, just waiting to, get your property back so you can re-rent it. And in Texas, I've seen that if you let the sheriff know in San Antonio, Austin area, typically within 60 days, that's the max that it takes for somebody to have to, evict somebody from a property and then get another renter in there. So the laws are much more friendly to the investors in Texas than some of these other states, and that's been important. That's been important internally in the United States, and so watching those trends would be, for anybody that's here or anybody that's exploring the area, from outside the country, it's a really important factor to consider. So, any questions so far on the maps and the things that we've talked about?
It looks like it's very developed and there is more room to grow. You telling me that in between San Antonio and Austin, there is a positive migration, and that what makes your project more attractive.
That's correct. Now, this area is growing quite a bit, but both
What can you
cities.
tell me about places that people can go and work? What you can tell me about these areas? I understood that they are going to build new schools, but let's say somebody wants to invest there, and we are thinking about where people are going to work. What type of employments you got in this area?
Very good question. So let's talk about the Austin area first and why this Buda location in South Austin is important. Austin is very well known for being a technology hub. They kind of almost call it the Silicon Valley of Texas. So if you're familiar with in California, Silicon Valley and all the large tech companies out there, they're very innovative, and have created some of the biggest tech companies that we see today, in the United States. Austin is very forward thinking when it comes to technology. They have some major festivals there that have really have really gained attention. There's South by Southwest, and then there's Austin City Limits, and they started as music festivals. But as the music started to grow and people across the world would come for these large concerts, the major motion picture industries and technology got in on these festivals. And now Austin is seen as like one of as far as the United States, one of the largest tech communities areas in the United States. So a lot of people flock there because of that. It's also the capital of Texas, by the way. So there's a lot of mainly technology is what you think of when you get to Austin. When you think on a high level of San Antonio, again, military bases. We've got a lot of industrial in San
And
Antonio.
Toyota. Mm.
Yeah, yep, Toyota manufacturing. So for the trucks, there's a manufacturing plant that builds the Toyota Tacomas, and it's kind of on the west side over here of San Antonio. And anywhere in between San Antonio, in between like the military hospitals. San Antonio is also known. We have a section. Let me zoom in here a little bit right here. Leon
Yeah,
Valley,
that's
this area
gorgeous.
right here, has a section. It's our medical center. And we have medical universities. There's a large number of hospitals. If people are needing major medical attention between Austin and San Antonio, a lot of times they get flown into San Antonio for our hospitals. So there's the medical center right here, and then there's also the military medical area down here as well. So that's a lot of the draw to San Antonio. We also have a lot of the draw because as you think about it, it's like, okay, well, we're really building along this corridor. What else is there? Elon Musk is one of the largest leasers in Texas, and a lot of his leasing is over here on the east side of the highway down into South San Antonio. He's leasing warehouses for, the battery storage. He's got a 1 million square foot, I'm sorry, a mile long building. It's called the Gigafactory, and that's where they produce the Teslas. And they have a 4-lane road in the middle of there where they drive semis all the way in there. They drop off equipment, they pick up equipment. It's pretty amazing when you drive by, and I don't know if you can imagine seeing a mile long building just laying on the ground, but it's pretty fascinating to drive by. But there's quite a bit going on those jobs. Elon Musk providing a lot of jobs in Texas, but that's kind of a high level view of what you're going to see here. And I always, anytime I'm investing in the United States, one of the things I do is, as an investor myself, is I go in and I look at the economic development department for the city. And that really helps me understand not only from a high level of, hey, it's technology, it's military, everything, but they're gonna list out all the major companies that you have there. There's a major in some of these areas halfway in between here. There's some industrial areas. Seguin is one big one in this area. There's a lot of industrial. Caterpillar is a manufacturer of some very large construction equipment. They have backhoes. They have bulldozers, all kinds of major construction equipment, and they have large distribution centers out in this area here as well. And they actually build that large equipment and ship it off all over the world. So quite a few things going on, and hopefully that answered your question. Was there more
Yeah,
I could add?
Gerard, yeah, perfectly. Now, commute-wise, what is the distance between the area that you are building from the major cities, Austin and San Antonio?
Commute-wise, that's a good question. So from San Antonio, central San Antonio, all the way to New Braunfels, that's about a 45-minute commute.
This is where your project is located?
Well, we have right here on west side of San Antonio. So if I was going west side of San Antonio to the New Braunfels area, that's about an hour.
Okay.
If I was going west side of San Antonio to South Austin, that's about an hour and a half of a
Okay,
drive.
so you're building in the middle, if I understood correctly?
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
we're building all the way up here to Austin.
So
We
closer to Austin than San Antonio. So from your area, the area that you're going to develop to San Antonio, 1 hour and a half, between 1 hour and 1 hour and a half.
correct, yes,
Yeah, that's a very regular commute.
very much
Uh,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
absolutely correct. I'm up
So
and down this corridor between Austin and San Antonio. I know Inbar is too, and we meet out and we met out in this community last week and walked through it together. And both of us knew, okay, we're coming from San Antonio. We need at least about an hour to get there, but
an
the
hour.
very comfortable commute.
Okay.
So what happened is New Braunfels, a lot of people buy and purchase houses in New Braunfels, but they're working in Austin. So they have like 45-minute ride on the highway and 35 to get to Austin because it's a way cheaper for them to buy a house there instead to buy in
Exactly.
Austin.
Exactly.
So that's why
Because
New Braunfels is very development and Seguin and Schertz. These areas are very, very popular right now. And the area at the south, like next to Castroville, that's also get popular because of all the bases we have there. And there's tons of university there. So it's very development. And many communities that I've been seeing, not just where Gerard is talking about right now, there's a lot of hospitals building in the area and some other colleges, So it's very development.
Okay, so basically, yeah, like I can go and purchase a duplex in 500 or 600 and save up to 200 or 300,000, but drive 45 minutes to center of Austin and maybe like living the same life that I can have in Austin, but in cheaper
Exactly.
real estate
Way cheaper,
purchase.
way cheaper.
Yeah, way cheaper real estate purchase that can save me a lot of money, and I won't be a slave for 30 years for another 200,000 that I borrowed from the bank.
Exactly. Yes. If you're moving up the I-35 corridor, the prices get higher the closer you get to Austin.
Oh, really?
And
higher than San Antonio?
They do. Yes, that's correct.
Wow.
I'll give you a good example here is in
What makes Austin more expensive than San Antonio?
it's more saturated. It's more saturated where San Antonio has more room to grow.
Oh,
And you're getting a lot of growth. But if I could give you an example, people always say that San Antonio is still that very open, free, not as much traffic, type of town versus you get to Austin, and Austin is very characteristic of, very heavy traffic. To get from this small area of Austin from one side over here on like the southwest to the north side of Austin, it could take you an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, where it took me an hour and a half to get from this side of the west side of San Antonio to South Austin or Austin. And so
what makes Austin more crowded?
Smaller area, larger population for the area.
Larger population. Okay, I guess it's more popular regarding places that you can work, or maybe a better quality of schools.
I would say quality of schools.
In some areas, it's a little bit better, and some areas in Austin are way expensive more than the rest of the city. And yes, it's a little bit better, but it's in just specific areas in Austin, I'll say. Round Rock, for example, it's a little bit more expensive than the rest of Austin.
That's north right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that kind of explains the areas a little bit. Please let me know if you have some more questions on that. I was going to kind of pivot a little bit more into a real high level view of, how do these look from a perspective of how much money am I putting in? What kind of cash flows can I get? What kind of appreciation can I expect? And what kind of return on investment can I expect? So I have some examples here of where I basically just summarize some of this. And again, if some of this on here makes sense and it really feels like we are, gravitating towards something that somebody wants to invest in, and they say, hey, I think that cost of entry is pretty good. I think that return on investment is pretty good. Inbar and I can, and Michael, we can work with you on different, the areas of like really zoning or honing in on like one property and looking at the numbers very specifically. But for a high level comparison right now, what I did here is I took some different areas, Emma Park duplexes. These are in Buda, so that's South Austin. Abbott Run is an area to the east of San Antonio towards Seguin, that area that just south of New Braunfels is getting some attention. Amanda Park, there's two right here, duplexes. Those are on the west side of San Antonio. Those were the ones right across the new schools. Sawyer Place is another one as well. Kind of a lower cost option of new construction duplexes. And then the quadplexes on the west side of San Antonio. So looking at these, here's your list price for each property. And what you're going to notice, something that I was going to kind of explain here, is South Austin and west side of San Antonio, Amanda Park and Emma Park. This is the same builder, and we have the same floor plans. You're going to see about a $70,000 difference in the floor plans between San Antonio and South Austin. And again, it all has to do with the saturation of the area. So with that being said, you'll take a look here and you'll say, okay, well, 634,500, this is a two-story duplex. Well, this is also a two-story duplex right here.
Wait a minute,
system.
Gerard. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you. What are the specs? Like
Oh,
bed, bath, square footage, because I see differences in pricing. I'm trying to understand. I guess it goes like different locations means different pricing, but what are the specs of each one? And duplex means like they have two different interests, so you can basically rent for two different families
that's correct.
Exactly.
You get two sources of revenue
and
because
two different backyards. They're not sharing nothing
No,
except
correct.
of maybe a wall in between.
just a
That's
wall.
correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
If you can add the specs, first of all, share with me this Excel because that shows like a very professional and this explains everything. And you divided the differences between 25% down payment and 30% down payment. So if you can share the specs, that will make everything much easier to understand. I guess the pricing differences are referring to different locations or maybe different sizes or maybe both.
They are locations and the sizes. And
Okay.
I'm going to pull this up here for you, and I'm going to show you. Um, I'm going to show you a marketing brochure. Pull that up here, and that way I can show you the specs of this.
Yeah. It'll be easier to understand.
Yeah, and then we can come back here. But let's take a look here on the specs. So this is an example of a duplex, just to give you more detail.
Wow.
This is a single story duplex. Yes, very nice. This is not normally when you expect it
Very
to.
nice, Mike.
I mean, this is a two-car garage on each side. All new construction. So it'll either have really nice grass landscaping out here, or it will have rocks in different depending on which community that you're in. So the idea is to have a really nice presentation in the front that's easy to manage for the tenants. And we'll take a look in here a little bit further. We'll talk about this floor plan. Here are the specs you're talking about, almost 1,500 square feet per side. There are a few different elevations, meaning like the design in the front of the house there. And here's the two-story. And again, we're just going to show exterior pictures, and then I'll get into the floor plan. But here's the two-story. And on the two-story, again, two-car garage and nice landscaping on the outside, both units. This plan is 1,667 square feet per side. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. I mean, it's huge. And Inbar and I have taken some videos recently of some of these. So if we get somebody that's interested, we have some walkthrough videos where they can, see us actually walking through these properties, see how big they are. So again, this is just another design of an elevation. So here's one design on the front. Here's the second one here with a few minor differences. Here it talks about the locations. It talks about the first phase, and how they're building this out. We looked at this on a map. Here are the floor plans. So
About to be built or they're in progress of being built?
great question. We typically always have inventory that's within 30 days of being completed or completed. And then we always have a plan going forward. So in the last probably 3 years, we've built a really nice group of builders that we work with that we have a lot of confidence in, enough to where before it was very hard because we would have some that were built, and then we'd have to wait another 5 or 6 months until the next batch was built. Right now, we've been able to kind of work with the builders, and we've timed it differently to where we consistently have inventory that is ready to close on. So as of right now, in these communities, all the ones we're looking at, we have something that can either close in the next 30 days, which is the typical time frame of closing on these with the lender, or even with the cash where they can close within 2 weeks. So, and in some cases, the team that we've built over here, we've been able to pre-lease these with new construction, so that you don't have to worry about, hey, is it going to take me, a month or two to find a renter in there? No, like we're giving you a new construction scenario with a renter in there that we've already gone out and found a renter. So we're really trying to help people out that are purchasing these to feel more comfortable by giving them those plans. So
Gerard,
it's
any limitation regarding renting the units? Like there is an HOA? Because in specific areas where I live, when a builder builds something, there is an HOA and they are limiting the amount of units that are being rented. Let's say 50% homeowners, 50% for rent. And in order to keep some type of a mix of houses that, that it won't be a community that is fully rented and then it goes towards areas that are being trashed because renters are not keeping their houses in the same type that homeowners are keeping their houses. So are you having any types of limitations regarding this type of house housing guidelines?
It's a great question. And the reason is because what you're talking about is very similar when you're dealing with a single family residence community. And I can fully appreciate why, because in a family community, some of those get very large, and some of them they build for like 10 years. And the single family residence communities are very, you know, they they limit a lot of times, like you said, the percentage of investors that can invest in there. And when we were going through the period of 2020, 2021, 2022, when it was everybody was buying real estate because the rates were so low, there was a lot of single family communities that investors could not buy in on new construction. And it really is limited on new construction for what you're talking about. But when it comes to the duplex and the quadplex communities, these are seen as communities that are mainly investor. And there are quite a few, I'd say right now, and they're not limited by any sort of like association or anything that's saying, hey, you can't go, you can't lease so many of these properties, but I would say it's probably about a 60-40 split. We have a lot of people locally that are buying these properties, living in one side and leasing out the other side. Just to give you a statistic, but there's nothing in these communities that's saying that it can't be fully investor owned. And you got to think about that they're promoted differently too. Like in a duplex and quadplex community, you fully expect that if you're a potential renter, you fully expect that I'm going to be living next to majority of renters as well. And so it's almost like a midway in between of an apartment complex, but having that same mindset of like, hey, I'm going to be around other renters when I'm renting, but I have more freedom because I have a backyard, I have a driveway, I have a garage. So it's a nice medium and in between. But it's a great question because we see that a lot in single family residences, but we do not in the duplex and quadplex market.
Okay. House hacking, like purchasing one side and renting the other side, and then you live for free as long as everything goes as planned.
That's it. That's very interesting. We see that a lot with the military. We see that a lot with people that are coming in, and and whether they live for free or even just at a discounted price, it's a fantastic way of building doors and being able to build your real estate portfolio in a way that it requires you to put less money down, but it does require you to be here. It does require you to technically call it your primary residence for, depending on the type of loan it is, at least a year at a time. But it's a fantastic way that I've seen local people take advantage of, building their real estate portfolio for their retirement and long-term holds.
Okay.
Yeah. So back to the floor plans here. This is going to be a floor plan you'll see this is the one-story plan. So you've got the two-car garage. We'll look at the bottom side right here. Here's your wall separating the two units. You got a two-car garage. You've got as soon as you come in, you've got a bathroom right here. You've got your two non-primary bedrooms right here. Both of them have their own closet. And then when you walk in the dining area, the family area, this is also the front porch. So if you walk in on the side, you'll see these in the videos that Inbar and I have provided. They have 11-foot ceilings when you walk in. Very open, wide floor plan. It feels very grand when you walk in. And in this case, you've got this whole entire room right here for the family, separate area for dining, very large kitchen. These are farm sinks, so it's one big open sink. It comes with all the appliances. You don't have to put any of these appliances in by yourself. It's got a walk-in pantry. I mean, it's very grand. And then as you walk down this way, this is your primary owner suite. Tray ceilings, so it's got like the box open on the top. You know, you've got your own bathroom right here, the primary bathroom. It's got double vanity. Everything on there, just like the kitchen, is like the granite countertops. You've got a tiled-in shower right here for the primary. Nice walk-in closet. It's a good-sized closet right here. And then, you know, you've got a separate, I'm sorry, you passed the utility room on the way in, but you've got a separate toilet room right here in the primary. So, and you've got a covered patio. That's very important out here in Texas because it gets really hot. One of the things is in our area, we have, you know, except for the coastline of Houston area, we really don't have a lot of natural disasters out here in this area. And so, but it gets hot. That's the one thing that some people say, oh, wow, you know, that's a little different for me when I moved to Texas. But one of the ways that we have that is when you have a covered patio for the back patio there, and you can have, you know, some areas for some tables and chairs and maybe a grill where you can make some food. People really enjoy that. And so it's nice to have this patio. You walk alongside here, and they have huge backyards in this area over here that have irrigation systems, so it keeps the grass really nice. And you've got a tree out in the back. Really nice area to be able to relax. And even if you have to keep in from the sun, you can hang out in this covered patio area. So it's really a well thought out floor plan for a single story. And not to mention the average, when you think of in this area, when you think of, hey, I'm going to buy a duplex or a quadplex that has 2 to 4 units in there, you typically think of a pretty small unit. It's about 1,250 square feet. It's normally 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 2.5 bath, because you have a half bath downstairs. The rooms are small. And in these, you have bigger rooms, and it feels like you're in a single family home. And so that's the nice piece of it is we try and put these in areas where you have good sized homes surrounding it, and you're going to have people coming in saying, hey, I don't feel as bunched up and close together as I do in an apartment or a normal duplex or quadplex. These are bigger, probably about another 250 square feet bigger on these single stories. And then when you get to these 2 stories down here, we'll go a little further down. This is the 2-story plan. You got 1,676 square feet. That's a lot bigger, and you're not going to find those typical duplex with 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath, and the rooms are very good size. So the second floor really consists of the bedrooms. There's 3 bedrooms upstairs and a shared bathroom on these, and there's a storage area as well. But on the bottom floor, when you walk in on a 2-story, normally you find about 8-foot ceilings because you're building up. Well, in these 2 stories, you have an 11-foot ceiling, just like on the single stories. So you walk in, and again, you have that big grand feeling. You have a larger family room right here, a completely separate dining room on this section over here. You just know it feels bigger. The owner suite is pretty good size. The closet, you just feel it bigger. Also, you have the utility room, which also comes with as an upgrade, bigger space. You have a little bit of cabinets in there and a countertop. So you can definitely feel Embar can tell you, we walked in these, and when you walk in these 2 stories, it's a much bigger feel. And even being a 2-story with the taller ceilings, very comfortable.
Quality. You see quality. You
Yeah.
see, you
If I
see
will
everything.
yeah, sorry, Mark.
No, I'm just saying it's very quality. You can see the difference between this new build and the other new builds that I see. It's come with the garage opener. Most of the new builds don't even put a garage opener, and they have all the utilities, and the way it's built and the finishes are really, really good. It's very nice.
Gerard, if I would take these numbers and I will compare it to my market in Jacksonville, you can find a duplex in a price range of 5 to 600,000, but houses from the 50s, 60s, and they are definitely not with double garage. They are much smaller, around 1,000 to 1,200. And you need to put a lot of work in them in order to bring them to the quality of houses that you are showing us right now. So
Yes.
if I want to buy a duplex right now in Jacksonville, Florida, that has a huge positive migration from the 2000, like more than 25%, the prices in here are can match your prices, but not the same floor plan that you are showing us in here.
I'm pretty familiar with the Jacksonville market. And you're right. A lot of in our company right now, if people like in our Florida market, they're buying in San Antonio and Texas right now. And this is why, is because, you know, from an investor standpoint, I'm not afraid personally to go in there and put money into a property and make it work and do things happen. But if I have an option, and if I'll go ahead and come out of this sheet here and go back to the spreadsheet. If I can put my money into something, and even if I took, like, if I was comparing to buying an older property and then buying a property that that's new construction, and I take the money that I'm going to put into a property plus the rehab money, and I can do that new construction all day long, I'm going to take that, especially if it's a more desirable floor plan based on, you know, what people are looking for today. That makes sense to me. So that's kind of how we've gotten into this. And one of the things that we've been able to work out here, and the inventory that Inbar and I are working on, is this new construction. Again, comes with a warranty. Usually comes with an interest rate buy down, or some major money towards closing costs to help buy the rate down. But the biggest part about it is the warranty. I mean, and the fact that you can go in there and get, you know, yes, it's a higher price, but you watch when the interest rates go back down, the next time they do, those prices are going to go back up.
Yeah.
And, you know, ultimately it's a trade-off. And normally right now the investors are getting, if they're not getting a rate buy down by, you know, and they purchase a pre-existing property, their rates are in the high sixes to the mid sevens. And that makes a huge difference and an impact on your cash flows. So what we'll talk about over here is, you know, here are the prices, you know, for the homes. And to give you an exact example, like, let's just say that 2-story we looked at, here's a 2-story in South Austin and the price. And here's a 2-story model over in West San Antonio and the price. And again, we know why, because we've talked about it, why the difference in the price. And you might see higher appreciation closer to Austin, but you're going to see the higher cost of entry. You know, that's also relative. You're going to see a little bit higher rent rates over in South Austin versus San Antonio. But again, you're getting in at a cheaper price. So where I look at that, and I'm sure, you know, both you know, you and Inbar, we look at it, you know, from a financial standpoint. I kind of think about how much money am I putting in, and what am I getting out of this, right? So that's the high level we'll look at today. And yes, I will send you. I'll shoot you over. Take a look at the spreadsheet yourself so you can kind of look at these numbers. And again, always let me know, because we can really go into a property and say, hey, how did I come up with these numbers? And we can really dive into it. But, you know, again, from a high level standpoint, let's look here. I've highlighted these 2 properties right now. The best numbers are coming out for how much money you put in, are coming out on the South Austin duplexes. I've got about 2 or 3 of those left right now until the next batch finishes. But the next batch finishing, I believe, over there in May. So we're going to have more to close in May. We're not too far off in South Austin, but we've got 2 or 3 right now that are pre-leased, and they come with these incentives. And in West San Antonio, the quadplexes, we've got about 6 of these right now, but some more being built that are available right now that we could buy into. But these are the numbers that are coming out better when it comes to projected 15-year projected ROI and 15-year total ROIs. So let's dive into those, and then I'd love for you guys to kind of bring some questions out as we talk about, or after we talk about them. Just let me know. Here's one, for example, that 2-story model, 1,676 square feet per side. We looked at that. If you put in 30%, that's going to be the blue area right here. This is the amount that you can expect to put in for the 30% plus a little bit in closing. And so this is 25%. So that's your cost of entry is what I like to call it. It'll in this incentive, if you put in 30%, you get it's a 3.75%. This one a 4.25.
Let's highlight. Wait a minute. Let's highlight the 3.75 and 4.25. How it is possible?
Oh, great example. So the 10.6 ARM is a product here. We do have 30-year fixed options, but you're probably going to be more like 4.75% is where you're going to land up if you take an option. This has been a very popular item for investors, and let me tell you why. It's called a 10.6 ARM. A lot of people hear adjustable rate mortgage and they think, I got to get away from this. I don't want to do it. But I have a finance background. I was in the mortgage business. These are actually very, very interesting products for investors. And the way it works is it's on a 30-year amortization. So it's like you're taking out a 30-year note, just like a 30-year fixed. But in this case, an adjustable rate mortgage has a fixed period, and then it has a period where it'll adjust. And in this case, this is one of the longest ones I've seen. It's fixed for the first 10 years, and it doesn't adjust until every 6 months. That's what the 10.6 means. Fixed for 10 years, adjust for every 6 months after that. So it would adjust every 6 months for the remaining 20 years of the note. Now, the investors are really taking advantage of this right now because they're looking at it from a standpoint of like, in the next 10 years, they really feel like they'll be able to refinance out of that. And there's no prepayment penalty on this. So you don't have to keep it to 10 years and expect that you'll have some kind of major fee that comes at you because you refinance before then. No, it's fixed for 10 years. And if you refinance out of that, then you absolutely, get yourself into a better scenario. And most investors, when you talk to them that are investing in the United States, you ask them if they've ever kept a mortgage loan for 10 years. And I'd be really surprised if you find many people, if any at all, that they can say they have. The real estate cycle tends to repeat itself and rates go up, they go down. As they go down, people refinance. And especially on these long-term holds, that's been a great strategy. One of the other options with the preferred lender that we're using, the preferred lender is who has this product. And so the builders have coordinated with them. So let's just say, for instance, you wanted to purchase a property and you said, okay, I want to find this out. We would connect you with this lender and they would go through all the process with you of everything that applying and everything. And they'll even go into the details of the 10.6 ARM just to make sure that you fully understand it. The preferred lender also has something called a rate rebound program. So if you decide in the first 5 years of this product and rates go down, you decide, hey, I want to refinance. He's got what they call it's like a streamlined refinance, very similar to it, but it's basically a very low cost option to refinance that into a lower rate. And a lot of people will probably take it into a fixed rate and sit there and say, okay, well, I've taken the whole adjustable rate piece out of it. So that, as an investor myself, I've taken advantage of these rates and done very well with them. I've seen people that hold them even in the point where they start to adjust, but rates are going down, and they let the rates go down and they enjoy the lower rate. And then as they feel like the rates are going to go back up, they lock in the fixed rate. So
okay, let me focus on the rate again. Like
sure.
it's possible because I guess the owner or the builder are purchasing points, like giving in advance to the lender the amount of interest as it was like 7% interest. Let's say for 7%, you need to pay $2,000 a month. And for 4.25, you are paying $1,200 a month. So right. I guess the builder is like giving to the lender the balance in advance for 10 years. That's how we can keep it in such lower interest rates.
You're absolutely right. It's what it's called. It's a very unique process. It's called a forward commitment. And what's happening is exactly what you're saying. The builder is saying, in my market, I produce a great product, but I want to keep selling these products. And right now I need to make this attractive to investors. And so what they do is we connect the builders with the lenders and an attorney before this is even offered. And because there's limitations on what the builder can give you, and you've probably seen that in your market as well. There's
Yeah.
limitations to what the builder can give you, and that's a federal guideline. But if this is done before the transaction and before this is even offered to people, this is a legal way that in the real estate commission has seen as a viable way to be able to do this. Instead of being limited on the back end once the transaction's already happening, they take care of it in the front end, and it's exactly what you're saying. They're purchasing interest. It's at a rate that they're literally just putting thousands and thousands of dollars in from their end that they built into their costs, and they're passing that on to the investors or anybody who's buying these, which is a fantastic incentive. And so ultimately, that's what's happening. They're prepaying the interest. They found a way to do it, before the transaction happens, and they pass that on to you. And so in the United States, if you're getting a loan in the United States, we've been able to get the rates of 3.75%, 4.25%. It's a little bit different with the international lending and the ways that it goes, but we can still get very competitive rates on the international side as well for any of the international borrowers that want to come in. But yes, this has been a really highly successful product for the investors that have taken advantage of it. And I have to tell you, we went through a process of there was a 5-year arm, then there was a 7-year arm and a 10-year arm. And what that means is it was fixed for the 5-year period. And some investors were good with it, but I'd say that out of 100% of talking people, probably 30% really took to it. And then we got into 7%, 7 years. And the investors really started taking to it even more. And I would say probably 65% of the people I talked to were really encouraged by that. But once we got to this 10-year arm, I'd say we're probably in the high 80s, like 90% range of the investors really, really understanding the product. And
yeah, the lender is not being harmed because he's going to pay in advance for the differences between the 7% that he offers and the 4.25% that he's going to get from the end buyer, because he was paid the balance up front, and he covered himself from the differences between the 7 and the 4.25 for the next 10 years.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a really good deal all the way around. And ultimately when you see something like this, you have to kind of think like, well, how is the builder building, their costs into this? And a good builder is going to provide a really good product and be able to provide these incentives. And I have a construction background, so before doing real estate, I was in mortgage finance and I was a construction project manager. And so when I walk into these things, it's really accustomed to me. I'll know in a minute or two after walking in these properties if it's something I would buy or not. And especially if you're paying for brand new, my standards of what I look at, and Amber's learned this as we walk through these properties, and she's picking up on things too. And you'd be surprised. She walks through these properties and she's pointing things out. She sees them. And she's getting really, really, really good at it. I'm really proud of her. But she's walking through too. But that's what we have to do here in this area is, if somebody's not here with us, we have to be able to identify, good construction. We have to be able to identify, all of these pieces when we walk in. And these are the products that we're offering you. These are products that we've worked with these builders. They've done a great job. They managed, if there's every warranty items, we need them to honor those and take care of our buyers and really work through that. So, this is a really long-term goal for everybody. But what you're seeing right here are very good quality builds. We've been very happy with. We've seen good success. Some of these builders, this is the 8th community that we've worked on. Probably majority of the options here are with a builder that we've done quite a bit of work with.
All right. Gerard, maybe we should show them the website and the way it's look, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you want to finish up with this Excel sheet? It shows like the cash flow is in between 199 to 200 in my Burr portfolio. Most of the houses in the last 2 years has performing like around $200 to $400 cash flow, and I'm getting between 6 to 0.645% interest rates. So In my case, it is second-hand houses. In your case, it's new constructions.
Yes.
And obviously, the maintenance will be much lower. And the numbers that you show in here, yeah, makes sense. Like the cash flow, it's typical to what I'm getting in the Florida market.
Yeah, one thing I can add on here too is there's some pieces that I'm being very conservative on. Like for example, right here in this number to get this right around $200 a month in cash flow. I mean, we understand that this is important because you have less maintenance to worry about because it's a brand new construction property with a warranty.
With the warranty.
But the way I have to calculate the taxes is I have to take and the taxes come out less than this very frequently. And to teach you a little bit about the Texas, market and the taxes, how they work. So 634,500 is my price. The taxes I'm figuring in right now are this total price times the tax rate. And most people would think, well, yeah, that's how it works, right? Well, let's talk about that. I know that the lender's going to want to collect that way for the taxes, but at the end of the first year, when the property adjusts with the county, the county doesn't always take this full amount of the list price here. Texas is a non-disclosure state. So the county's not going in there and looking at the MLS records, things like that. They're making their own value of it. If their value ever came in higher than what your purchase price was on that first year, you should go protest it. But most of the time it comes in lower. So what that results in is at the end of the first year, when the mortgage company goes to pay out the taxes and says, well, we've collected, based on the list price and the tax amount. But if there's more money in there, they're going to hand you a check back and they're going to lower your payment. And so I can't predict that of what the county's going to do, but it is very common. I'll give you, for example, on these quadplexes here, and the reason these are at a good rate, I'll just give you a little plug here on this. I was selling these for $1,050,000 last year, and they were praising at that. These that I'm selling right here, right now, that Inbar and I are working on, this is the developer that has decided I'm going to sell these at a lower price. I'm moving my resources onto the next community. So he's selling them at $895. We can't market that online because he doesn't want us to for the appraised values, but he's giving this value. But again, $895. And selling them at $1,050,000, having them appraised that. The most I've seen these adjust to in the county's website is around $600,000. So again, I'm giving you kind of almost worst case scenario in these cash flow numbers. So there's a good possibility we could get close to the cash flow numbers that you have on some of your BRRRR products by year 2 without even considering rental rate increases.
Okay.
So, I just try and be as conservative as possible with this because there's just certain things, in these numbers that you want to, give to the point of view of being conservative. So later on, somebody doesn't come back to you and say, what happened here? So, we try and work that way. But anyways, the spreadsheet, just to kind of finish across, here's the rent per month. These are actual rents, 1.74% on the tax rate for this one. Here's your estimated cash flows. We talked about how those are calculated. Here's your estimated 15-year appreciation. What you and I both know is on the BRRRR, in some of the BRRRR market, you get really good appreciation depending on where you find. Some of those properties are harder to find in that method, but in these, if you're putting them in the right location right away, you always know that's what drives your appreciation. Appreciation in the long-term hold is normally the biggest contributor to your return.
It is a free money that you can borrow back after the house going up, and then you can do another cash out refi and pull more money back and continue to invest. And this money is tax free because there is no taxes on loans.
That's right. You defer the taxes to those 1031 exchanges. I'd say about half the clients that Inbar and I work with in these scenarios are going to be 1031 exchanges.
Let me understand something, Gerard. The column W means like estimated 15 years appreciation, meaning $684,000 is being added to the first purchase price that I purchased. Like
Yep.
meaning the house, the appreciation is double, like 100%.
We're expecting that the appreciation would grow to that in 15 years. So you're looking at about a $1.3 million house in
What
15.
percentage did you use each year? Like 3, 4, 5% appreciation?
That's a good question. We'll dive in. Let's finish this real fast on these
Okay.
numbers. I'm going to take you into this exact scenario, and we're going to look at it on the website. That's what Inbar was saying.
Okay.
We can get in there. So real fast, the appreciation is 684, and then you look at your projected profit, and somebody might ask, well, how come this number's less? It's a good question. When we look at projected profit, as you'll see on the next phase and the next when we get to the website and we look at this in detail, the projected profit is true profit. It estimates closing costs and selling costs and everything. So we're giving you a number here that we're basing this number on. And again, we'll show you how we get to that. But basically, with your ROI, this is how much money you put in. This is how much you profited in year 15. And this is what your annual ROI was to get there. And this is what your total projected ROI
Wow.
over the years is. And we'll dive into those numbers on this example here. And what we might do is we'll dive into one of the duplexes. But again, note that you've got some pretty significant numbers down here as well on that quadplex as well. So this is the spreadsheet. I can send this over. I'm constantly updating this as I get more information on the rents. Any of the information is coming through on the incentives. So it's always a topic of conversation. When Inbar and I start getting into the conversations, we utilize this spreadsheet to be able to kind of talk on a high level and find out how much people have to invest, what they can expect to see over time and why. So that being said, let me go into my spreadsheet here, and we will find, of course, that's not working. Let's come here. My computer's running a little slow this morning. Let me go into, I will find, this is our website. This is where I work in here. There's a quadplex. Let me go into that duplex we were talking about. Okay, so here is the Buda duplex. This is the 2-story model. And we'll go through some of the numbers here. This just talks a little bit about the market. It's a little feature as if you were looking at an ad. I'll come down here. There is a special builder promotion, which we talked about. On this one, this is assuming we put 30% down, so you got that 3.75% interest rate. Features of the features of the home is the garage, the patio, 2-story, central heating. Here are the units, features of it: 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,676 square feet. On this one, $1,875 a month in rent. And those are, one is pre-lease. I believe the second one is already on the way to, I think they're working on an application right now on this one. Schools, let's talk about this. You look at the 4 and the 5 and the 4, and it doesn't look really, out of 10, that doesn't look great. Well, this is kind of a newer area where you have some newer schools. The schools out here have actually been pretty well. I typically look at something I very rarely see an 8. Texas is very hard at scoring on their schools. I very rarely see an 8. So I'm normally looking for like a 4 to 7 for something that's reliable as far as the school goes. This is a little further down. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Austin area. And again, we start talking about a property, whether you pick out a quadplex or a duplex. We'll go into this detail on every one before, we want to hand you over to the lender. We want to give you some good, knowledge of this first. This is going to talk about the Austin market and how it's performed since the late 90s. And it'll tell you, how consistent it's been. Everybody saw a really big jump over here, 2020 through 2022. We've seen a little bit of a correction, but ultimately still well along this curve, not going below this curve. And this is where we got the data from. So you can kind of see how much per year. Where did we get this? Okay, we did have a little bit of a drop in 04, and we knew we had 07, 08. There was a little bit of a drop, but look how strong it's been ever since. And these are true appreciation numbers. If you really want to look at something, look at the last 4 years and how this market's performed.
Yeah, Austin was the most appreciated city in the whole United States in the Corona time.
Yeah, and it did have a good correction, but if you cancel out these 2 years, in 4 years, you made 45%.
Wow, that's crazy.
45%. Yeah, and so from an investor, you do see a bigger correction in there, but that's a typical of a saturated market, right? So what you're seeing is how we classify these properties here. This is considered a B plus, probably pretty close to B plus, A minus. And anyways, you come in here, this when we get into the financial summary, we're going to talk a little bit more about how we valued the property on a B plus, everything a little further down. List price $634,000, annual gross that's based on the rents $45,000. Investment capital needed, that's the number that we have down there for putting 30% down. Total projected profit, annual return on investment. So let's take a look at these and see how we got this. We took the list price, we put 30% down. This is how much we're putting down. We don't need any initial repair costs on any of this. They're rent ready and they're ready to put renters in it. Some of them already have renters in them already. These are closing costs. This is a percentage. This is not actual closing. There may be some incentives in there that bring that down, but this is just an estimate based off of your loan amount down here. And this is how we came up with the 203, 674, 50. The lender's going to help you really tidy up these numbers as we talk to them. But we're assuming 70% loan at the 3.75%, 30-year amortization, and that's how we come up with your mortgage, your principal and interest payment. And then taxes, again, we're fully assuming that these taxes are based upon the value of what we're purchasing. We're assuming the county's going to come up to that. We really haven't seen that, but we're assuming that for now. So that's where we're coming up with your tax number. Insurance, I've seen these. We have an insurance agent that kind of runs these duplexes, these quadplexes. 125 seems low. He does have some programs that'll get you there. If we really want to be conservative on that, I'd say we can even put 175 on there if they want to purchase some more, a different policy than what he might suggest. So let's just be conservative there. Management fee, on average, I'm seeing this about 8%. It can be up to 10%, but there's some good options at 8%. HOA fee, $75. That's taking the HOA for the entire duplex. And that's splitting it up monthly. It's going to be paid annually, but we want you to consider that in your numbers. Utilities and landscaping are paid for. Landscaping is on the front yard is through the HOA. That's all covered in the HOA, and they maintain it. It looks really nice in this community. You drive in there, all the lawns are cut. Looks really, really professional. Utilities are paid for by the tenants. So then your fixed expenses come out. This is $3,502.93. Now, I'm going to come back to these variable expenses and we'll talk about those. But right now, what this is saying is at this price that you could have around $247.07. We were even conservatively estimating on the spreadsheet, and it was coming out to right about 200 if you remember we were looking at that. So I even put some more in here on insurance. What we'll do is we'll go down these numbers and go through everything and make sure we get you the numbers, everything works out. But again, conservative numbers on the spreadsheet. But let's talk about these variable expenses here too, because you want to think about these, but your variable expenses are going to be your vacancy, your maintenance, and then a leasing fee. So right now on the vacancy, if you have the property pre-leased, or if you can even get the property leased before your first payment is due.
You can waive that easily. Yeah, also the maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, the maintenance is a brand new property, right? The leasing fee, this property management company, so Marshall Reddick has property management. They charge 50% of one payment for a leasing fee. The idea is on the new construction, get somebody in there who stays in there, so you're not paying this leasing fee and having to get a leasing agent to go lease it, again and again. So they've broken that down in there. Now, in some of these new construction options here, if they put a renter in there, you can negotiate that leasing fee and say, okay, well, you paid it already. You can talk in your contract and say, hey, How about even though I'm getting this tenant, I don't want to be responsible for that leasing fee, or I'll negotiate it down. Those are certain things that Inbar and I have been doing on the contracts we're working on. So, we'll work on that. But again, if you can push these to a side, these are great to think about later on down the line, but these are not items. But notice that that would account for, if you broke that down monthly, like $700. And I mean, you know this, Michael, as well, is that you consider those as factors going in, but ultimately you look pretty heavily on what are my cash flows
Yeah,
after.
I think this is too conservative. Vacancy and maintenance are not the
Yeah.
factors. I'm
Okay.
calculating everything from the day the house is being rented, year or 2 years forward. So
Yeah.
a new construction, I guess the vacancy will be zero or close to zero.
If
And
it's
the
pre-leased.
maintenance, like you have a warranty. So what are going to be your expenses? I know it's part of
Right.
the calculator, but I think you
It's
can wait
just a
easily.
it's just a conservative. I just want you to know how this calculator works. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I have investments myself on the new construction. I don't consider it a whole lot because of this. But so going on here on the cash flows, that's how we came up with it. We took the gross rent minus the fixed expenses. The if you're considering those variable expenses again later on down the line, that's where you show this negative number, which again, new construction. I want you to know about that number as we get down further. So on the return on investment, this is how we're calculating it. This is calculating our annual appreciation at 5%. If I go back up here and we look at that chart, we know that the actual appreciation was 6.9%.
Yeah.
So again, we're being conservative on how we're coming up with these numbers. So the 5% there is how we're basing this. We're holding it for 15 years. This accumulated cash flow is showing this number up here, showing variable expenses. So it's a good possibility that this cash flow number is positive. And the appreciation, we know how we got there. We talked about that earlier. This was on the spreadsheet. Principal pay down is how much the renters paid it down. And then selling expenses is just a formula. It's typically, we plug this in at 9%. So 6% realtor fee and 3%, leaving for like closing costs. Again, another conservative number. So your profits come out at 651. And that's where we come up with the 21% annual return on appreciation, and then you see your total projected profit as well. So that's what you'll see on the website. These are how we break down and we get back over to, the spreadsheet. So you kind of know how we build our numbers and where we come up with them. Uh, and I'm with you. I know that we bake these in pretty conservative, but we like to look at them, comparatively as well. And we do have a lot of people when we talk to them, they run their own numbers very, very similar to you, Michael, and they come up and say, "Hey, how come these numbers come out better?" Well, let's talk about how I calculate and you calculate, and we figure it out. But ultimately, these have been really strong investments. Brought you back to the Excel page here so you can kind of look at it. Yeah, let me know any other questions that you guys have.
No, everything was perfect. Everything was clear. Everything was clear. I think you went too conservative with your calculator.
Yeah,
You're almost
yeah,
losing money every month. But yeah, I understand that you want to show the future investors both sides of the investment.
yeah,
And yeah, and obviously regarding the interest rates that it's not something that you can find today. And the way that the builder built this deal, I think it's genius because he paid something upfront. He buy down points or buy down interest, whatever you want to call it, and he can guarantee type of interest rates that are not existing today. What makes the whole deal very attractive. And if you see the appreciation and you went on the conservative way, 5% to Austin. I know Austin is a great area where appreciation is going the highest every year if you compare it to other cities in the United States. So 5% is very realistic. And it makes I'm saying all the time that I'm a marathon runner. I'm not a sprinter. okay? And when you build a portfolio and you're looking for the long run, you need to see, hey, what will happen in 5, 10, and 15 years? Okay, right now, maybe the numbers are not the most shiny numbers that I can find, but in a projective of 5, 10, or 15, or maybe 20 years, the amount of appreciation that you have in here, you can buy 3, 4 houses easily. And you can take this money, it is free money that you're not paying taxes on. You need to see that you have the ability to pay that monthly. I guess the rent won't be the same now and in 15 years from now, but you can build a fortune like only from the appreciation, obviously because of the area and obviously because it is a new construction. So I think it's a great project, and I need to find time and come and check it on site, okay? And see maybe it is something that is suitable to me. But everyone that understands real estate can see the numbers and understand that it's a great deal regarding numbers, regarding interest rates, regarding location.
Yes. Yeah, we'd love to have you out here. So, let us know when you're coming. We'll set it all up.
Yeah. I should like meet in bar, meet you, and maybe check out this project because I'm not familiar with this kind of numbers in my area in Jacksonville, Florida. You cannot find a duplex
Right.
in 600,000, and that makes this kind of numbers, and the interest rate will start from 6.5 and above, and most likely you will find a duplex from the 50s, 60s that needs tons of work in BC areas. Like new construction is obviously A plus area.
Right. Yeah.
So I want to say something in Hebrew.
Oh, you said something. That's good, Inbar.
אני רוצה רק להגיד, כמובן מי שיצפה בנו, שמי שרוצה עוד מידע, גם אם הוא ייכנס לאתר של מרשל רדיק, בבקשה, להביא לנו את האימייל שזה יגיע דרכנו, וגם להגיד שמי שנכנס ושם אימייל בלי שזה בא דרכנו, אז יתחילו להתקשר עליו מלא סוכנים, ודי לשגע אותם, אבל ג'רארד ואני עובדים על זה קשה, אז היינו שמחים שזה יגיע דרכנו.
Everything is going to be through you, and I will add your direct phone number under this webinar, also on my YouTube channel, under the video in the course, and where I'm going to distribute an email with this wonderful webinar. It's going to be your phone number on the top as a title, so people can go directly to you and through Gerard and have more information regarding this beautiful project.
And we can make a phone calls, a meeting, we can explain again and show and answer questions and introduct them to read that he is the lender. So,
and all the students that are coming to San Antonio, you need to show them this project. Like the numbers are wonderful, and I know some of them are going to visit you real soon. So you need to show them this project as part of what they are planning to do in San Antonio.
Yeah, will do. Sounds good. That's why we did the webinar, and hopefully people will see it.
Yeah. Gerard, you're super professional. Everything was clear. Everything was fluent. Obviously, you control the numbers, the project, everything regarding this wonderful new construction that you are providing us with all this information that makes logic, because a lot of investors are struggling to find good deals nowadays. And even when you find a good deal, when you put up the numbers, like things are very marginal because of the interest rates. If not the interest rates, the location is not good, or high property taxes, and you ending up like with a negative cash flow, or you're ending up like losing money. And this is not the reason that people are building portfolios. They want to enjoy the cash flow with the appreciation and everything that real estate has to provide. But listen, first of all, thank you for your time. You're super professional. I was really enjoying listening to you. And I hope this webinar goes to the right people that can make a smart decision and go with that, and you can have more sales, and because obviously everything looks wonderful on paper.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
and in the reality, because it's really look great.
Yeah. The reality is what matters.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time, Gerard.
Welcome. Thank you. All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.